The state offers financial help as Denver is overwhelmed with migrants from the border. Talk to somebody on the ground in El Paso to better understand the situation. Good neighbors and smart preparation kept the Sunshine Fire from being far worse. A botched emergency alert in the suburbs is leading to a worst-case scenario for emergency managers.
I want to make sure I get the right one, not one from 15 miles away.
A legislative leader is leaving after losing a race to lead the state house. We've got a good sign that RSV's worst is behind us. And if any of the 25 candidates for Denver mayor are watching, a woman with real experience with poverty wants you to listen to her ideas. Hey, this is your show where you talk to the people in charge and the people who want to be in charge. This is next. Migrants are arriving in Denver from the southern border faster than the city can help move migrants on from temporary shelters. So that means those shelters are filling fast. Many of the migrants have said they're up from El Paso. Our Steve Steger talked to the journalist there who has Colorado roots to get some insight on why Denver has become the destination.
Very much, I think, a humanitarian crisis well underway at this point.
Robert Moore spent part of his journalism career as an editor at The Coloradoan in Fort Collins, but he has spent most of it reporting in El Paso, Texas. And he says he's never seen a situation quite like this.
About 1,500 to 1,800 people a day were being released by the Border Patrol in El Paso. Many of them were able to get to shelters, but increasingly in recent days, we were seeing 500 or 600 people released to the streets.
Leaders there are swamped.
They're scrambling to get emergency shelters and to make sure that the funding's there to pay for them.
In Denver, a much smaller version of the same crisis. More migrants are arriving each day than are moving on from emergency shelters here. 175 arrived overnight Tuesday, 101 more added to the emergency shelter count. Why are they coming here?
I think it has a good airport and good transportation hubs. That's the main thing. I don't think for most of the people, the end destination is Denver.
Moore says they may also be getting some help from non-governmental organizations, NGOs, on the ground in El Paso.
But I think you still are probably seeing some NGO activity that's not chartering buses, but really helping people who want to get there and can afford a ticket to get to Denver so that they can connect to other locations.
As El Paso scrambles to prepare for as many as 5,000 migrants arriving each day should a Trump-era immigration policy end, Denver is too. Today we learned that the governor met with clergy last week asking for help finding housing.
This is a case of desperate people trying to come north to make for a better life for their families. I'd encourage everybody not to lose sight of the humanity here.
So I talked to the emergency manager in El Paso County, Colorado today, who told me they haven't seen an influx of migrants in Colorado Springs, but they're ready for it should Trump-era immigration policy Title 42 come to an end. He says that they are in talks to potentially support Denver should the city need more help in its emergency shelters. But all of that is still being worked out. They got to figure out if they have the right people there who might be able to help in Denver. It needs to be someone with some sort of shelter training to be able to come in and help out the city.
Because eventually the city's going to get to a point where they simply don't have beds for people. So it looks like it's that second stage of where does somebody go from that emergency shelter out into the community. And if the governor's getting involved, then we're talking about obviously other places in Colorado.
Yeah, and we did ask today, by the way, to the city that is slowly running out of bed space. They're about to open the Denver Coliseum this week for folks to have a larger warming center. We asked if that could be a long-term solution for this crisis. We were told by the city today that that is not part of the plan right now.
Not part of the plan to have the Denver Coliseum house folks coming into town. All right. Thank you, Steve. The influx of migrants into Denver from the southern border has caused a curious shift in Colorado, and I wonder if you have noticed it too. There's a sudden surge in concern for Coloradans experiencing homelessness. This newfound concern seems to come from some of the same people who recently mocked those living on the street, insulted them, called for them to be herded up and moved along. And now we hear we must take care of every American experiencing homelessness before there's any help for migrants. That false choice has already been rejected by the people who are actually in the arena on this, those who are actually working to combat homelessness. So I would respectfully defer to those tireless advocates who are currently working around the clock to help both those experiencing homelessness and the migrants who have recently arrived from the border states. You don't hear those folks trying to pit one against the other. It's not particularly clever or convincing to only embrace the unhoused when it conveniently leaves somebody without a hand to then help a migrant. Firefighters say that they are making good progress against the small fire that's right outside the city of Boulder. The Sunshine Fire is not spreading quickly. It's gone from 16 to 19 acres since yesterday, and it's about 40% contained. 450 people had to leave their homes at one point. This began as a house fire on Sunshine Canyon Drive. Firefighters actually say that some smart mitigation work by homeowners really helped limit the damage. Yesterday's high winds have died down as well. Firefighters are hoping to lift evacuations soon if the wind stays calm and that fire doesn't move. Yesterday's evacuation orders did create some confusion. The city of Boulder is rolling out a new emergency alert system called Zone Haven. It breaks up evacuation maps into geographic zones. This fire was the system's first big test. Emergency managers say some things went well, but the city's new system allowed first responders to quickly share the updates with each other and the public, while the county is still in the process of adopting it. Their alerts came on a completely different system.
We did anticipate there was going to be some confusion because of that, and it was unfortunate we had this event. And I understand that definitely adds stress to the community when they don't really feel like that information can be super reliable on either platform. So we're looking forward to being able to implement it as a county, hopefully in the near future.
So people in Boulder and Boulder County are being asked to get familiar with both systems, especially for pre-evacuation orders. The bottom line is both Boulder and Boulder County will send actual evacuation gotta-go orders through what are called WIA alerts. Those are the Amber Alert style messages that buzz your cell phone if you're in the area. If the way we learn is by making mistakes, the people in charge of Colorado's emergency alerts have done a lot of learning in the last 12 months. Most recently over the weekend with an emergency call that woke up the wrong people in the dead of night. Here's Mark Salinger.
I live in Westminster, Colorado, in Adams County.
Karen Hartman lives nowhere near Robb Street in Lake.
No, not at all.
And still, she got the call early Sunday morning warning her to stay inside.
Because if something awful's happening, I want to make sure I get the right one, not one from 15 miles away.
The alert was supposed to go out to 25 people around an apartment complex police were at. Instead, 168,000 phones started ringing shortly after midnight on Sunday. Karen doesn't even live in Jefferson County and says she only signed up for the alerts for her area in Westminster after the Marshall fire.
I want to make sure that I'm on the correct list to get Adams County alerts.
Turns out Westminster uses the same system for emergency alerts as Jefferson County. So does Broomfield. Some people could get alerts for areas farther away from their homes, depending on the notification settings.
This went too broad, and we recognize that, and we apologize for those actions.
Jeff Streeter is the executive director of JeffCom 911. He wants as many people as possible to sign up for emergency alerts. But after Sunday's mistake, his office got enough calls from people who no longer live in the area or people who wanted to be taken off the list that they started an email to unsubscribe people.
But I would always encourage people to re-register within their counties or their appropriate jurisdictions with whatever alert system exists.
Jeffco's emergency alert list has hundreds of thousands of numbers. If anyone has ever signed up for any iteration of the alert system there at any time, their number is likely still registered. An audit to see who actually still lives in the area has never been done.
We didn't have the means or the capabilities to call every phone number and check it to see if people still wanted to stay within it.
A problem that comes to light when every single person gets a call at 12:30 in the morning. Now, as soon as the alert went out on Sunday night, the dispatcher who sent it realized something was wrong. I'm told they canceled the alert and limited the number of people who got it to around 168,000. If they had not canceled it, nearly 400,000 people would have received that phone call in the middle of the night. Kyle, the vast majority of those people were not even close to the scene police were at.
And I know their worst fear is that people will then opt out or ignore those alerts, and then it becomes a worst-case scenario. They've tried it again since Sunday.
Yeah, in fact, I got an alert just this afternoon for a red flag warning. It seemed to work perfectly fine through text message, and I'm told that they have made phone calls since Sunday. Also important to note that they're still trying to investigate exactly what went wrong. We still don't know if it was human error or a glitch in the software.
Humans make errors. We've certainly made them. Mark, thank you. I want to tell you about an issue that has just come up that's got several people sick out at the Gaylord Rockies Resort, the big hotel and convention center near DIA. Aurora Fire says kitchen equipment released some carbon monoxide out there. Firefighters say one person is sick enough they have to go to the hospital, but should be okay in the long term. Other people are being treated for carbon monoxide issues out there on site at the Gaylord. We know that's a busy place around the holidays. A lot of people visit. So we'll share more about this carbon monoxide issue as we learn it. Democratic state legislator from Adams County is resigning just a month after her failed bid to become Speaker of the State House. Speaker Pro Tem Adrienne Benavides is leaving effective January 5th. She served in the legislature for 6 years, and she lost a race to Speaker-designate Julie McCluskey recently. Benavides did not give a reason for her resignation in her letter. Democratic Vacancy Committee will fill her seat for the remainder of her term. A councilman in Colorado's most diverse city is refusing to talk about some old ads for his restaurant that have recently surfaced. Ads where conservative councilman Steve Sundberg imitates people from different ethnic groups, complete with costumes, accents, and stereotypes. Sundberg represents Aurora's Ward 2. He's also the owner of Legends of Aurora Sports Grill. So he recorded a bunch of Facebook video ads for that restaurant in 2020. Those videos, first unearthed by the Aurora Sentinel newspaper, feature Sundberg's impression of various ethnic groups in town. Community leaders like the director for the Colorado South Asian Democrats say the videos are blatantly racist and they're a poor representation of the most diverse city in the state. We reached out to Sundberg. He didn't want to talk about it.
The end of a statewide emergency measure signals good news about the virus that's been hitting kids. Boulder's main library is closing due to drug use. And one of the couple people in Denver who's not running for mayor says the high cost of living is her life story.
This is my lived experience.
We'll hand the microphone to somebody who has experienced poverty and who wants it front and center for the 25 candidates for mayor. Next.
A sign that the strain on Colorado's hospitals is easing. States shutting down its transfer system that was fired up last month in order to move patients away from full hospitals. Patients with respiratory illnesses, especially kids, were overwhelming hospitals to the point that people had to be moved to other places with more space. It was a throwback to something the state did during the worst of the COVID pandemic. At one point late last month, there were only 2 open pediatric ICU beds anywhere in the state. Doctors think we are now past the peak of RSV in Colorado. Boulder is temporarily closing its main library because people have been smoking so much meth in the bathrooms, made 2 library employees sick. This is an indefinite closure while the city figures out the level of the meth contamination. The city said that environmental testing detected meth in the air ducts of 6 bathrooms. The city says the 2 employees who got sick after exposure to the fumes should not have long-term health problems, but that main library branch in Boulder is closed until they can do more testing.
All right, well, we are expecting change to push in. In the meantime, we're enjoying nice mild temperatures. We're at 34 degrees, where it feels closer to 27 degrees out there with winds coming in from the east-southeast at around 9 miles per hour. Now, we have a lot of alerts and advisories that are going to be in effect. I'm going to step off the screen just so you can see these a little better. Tomorrow, we'll have midday Wednesday, we'll have winter weather advisories in effect. That's going to be all of the teal colors. We're going to see around 2 to 8 inches of snowfall there, with winds gusting anywhere from 45 to even 80 miles per hour in some areas. Other areas, the red, are going to see winter storm warnings in effect. We're going to see those higher totals in the higher elevations, and we're going to see those winds gusting around 55 to 65 miles per hour, even 80 miles per hour in some areas here as well. Now, what we're really going to pay attention to is going to be the wind chill warnings. Now, this is what it's going to feel like on your skin. This is going to be the bigger deal because, yes, we will be seeing some snow, but the temperatures are going to be pretty rare for us. It's going to feel like 40 to 50 degrees below zero. This is going to be late Wednesday all the way through early Friday. So we're going to continue to watch for dangerously cold weather. That means you could get frostbite in a matter of just 5 minutes on exposed skin. Outside of that, we do have red flag warnings that'll be in effect and a high wind watch. So you're going to want to watch for strong winds as we go from Wednesday morning to Wednesday afternoon. So a lot is going to be happening. Right now, though, not too much on our HD Doppler radar. We do have some light snow showers in the high country country off to the west. We're not going to expect any of that snow to hit Denver until late Wednesday into early Thursday. Even after that snow pushes out, we are going to continue to monitor the skies for a very cold Arctic air pushing down from the north. So we're going to continue to watch for that. In the meantime, we will see those cold temperatures stick around all the way through Thursday, with those highs not making it above zero. Then we start to rebound Friday, and by Christmas, we'll see those temperatures back in the lower 50s.
Last year's brutal storm cost Xcel Energy customers millions, so you're asking some smart questions about the coming cold. And there are 25 candidates for Denver mayor. We'll meet a woman who is not one of them, but her life experience could help them better understand the city. Next. Tonight's next question comes from a viewer named Irene. Ahead of this week's record low temperatures, Irene wants to know if utility providers are concerned about the power grid.
That is a timely question, Irene, because Xcel customers are still paying off hundreds of millions of dollars of costs from 2021's worst storm. And here comes the cold. State regulators say what happened then is Xcel didn't stock up on enough natural gas last year and then was forced to go out and buy more at inflated prices. This time around, the freezing temperatures are not expected to last as long, and regulators say utility providers are better stocked up on natural gas. Also, I'd never heard this. The storm coming midweek as opposed to on the weekend gives utility providers more flexibility if they need to go out and buy additional natural gas. We are literally running out of room to add photos of all of the people who are running for Denver mayor. Robert Trita is number 25 today. He's a construction company owner who says he wants to address problems like homelessness and poor planning for new development. So for now, we are focused on the couple of Denverites who are not running. Meet Lorianne Mills. We want folks to listen to concerns of everyday folks who are not in the race. So Lorianne's a nonprofit leader who's not running for mayor. She says that her advocacy is rooted in her experience. She relies on disability benefits to get by, and she wants the next mayor to help people like her who are struggling with rising rent.
I would ask them what their stance on the movement to repeal the ban on rent stabilization in Colorado. These increases impact heavily your food and housing security. And when you're capped on your income and your savings like we are, it's really a struggle, and it makes us vulnerable to homelessness.
Lorianne alluded to it. Denver or any city would need the state ban repealed before a city could implement rent stabilization. Our interviews with some of the 25 people who are running for Denver mayor are on the next YouTube page. But for the time being, if you live in the city and you're not running for mayor, why not? Well, if you have a suggestion for the next mayor, email us next@9news.com. Sharing is caring, and you have been loudly sharing at me for years. Your feedback's next. Years of your holiday joy that you've shared with us. Keep that coming. A quick update from Boulder. Firefighters say that at this point, anybody who was evacuated yesterday is able to go back to those evacuation areas. They're simply asking that all the rest of us who don't live there don't come in and crowd that area. That seems pretty fair. That area is still under a fire warning due to winds through tomorrow. It's just something to be aware of. Feedback tonight. Izzy writes, your words about how we prioritize who we house are rather timely this year, particularly with the uber dangerous weather forecast this week. And Chris writes in on the same topic. We need to have all these churches all over the city open their doors to the immigrants and the homeless. Isn't that what they're known for? Certainly, yes, Chris. Some churches are known for charity. Other churches are known for stuff like yelling at gay people. They each kind of select their own lane. We'll see you next time.